What's up, guys? Welcome back. Gonna be another quick KSP Let's Play, and I mentioned in the last one, when we did the SR-71, a single engine ops, and I said, oh, I'll show you that here in a second, and I never did, and I felt like an absolute schmuck ever since. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so... Alright, let me gather my thoughts here for a second. Is that just... that freaked me out a little bit. Okay, so yeah, we never did do single engine ops. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me explain to you the aerodynamics super quick. If you're going super fast, you really only need one engine because the air is going to be able to push against your rudders here and the rest of the flying surfaces to keep you straight. Now, as you slow down, you're going to get more thrust out of one side, more torque, and it will spin you. In the aviation world, we call it VMC, which is Velocity Minimum Control for a single engine. It's really dangerous on takeoff because you are slow and you get a lot of thrust. So I might do a video eventually on like what that means and stuff. So it's actually weird on the ground. You can see my yaw. I'm actually going to the left, and that's putting the nose to the right. So kind of got reverse control here for a second. But so the point is, this video is going to be mostly probably single engine operations and see what we can do. So like I said, low thrust at low speed. Because if I had high thrust right now, you know what? Let's do that. I'll just show you what happens with a high thrust on one engine. So I'm gonna hit the brakes, and we're just gonna go. I'm just gonna hit full throttle, and I'll try to steer it. So I'm trying to turn it. Let's see, I'm giving it maximum beans to the right, and see as we're picking up speed. Nope, there it goes. So it should start whipping around here any second. Yep, there it goes. So as I got enough thrust, it just spins you. So we're gonna cut that engine, and we're gonna start this one. And we're going to go full power for takeoff, and we're just going to get up in the air and we'll do some single engine experimenting here in a minute. So we've got both engines with probably different thrust, because this one's at 97 and this one is... Oh no, they're probably evened out about now. Okay. Well, this is a perfect single engine thrust demonstration because we just lost the right engine completely, and I've got a feeling that we are not going to make it. Yep, this is going to be bad. Hey, look, our little... Oh, wait, spoke too soon? No, they made it. Arfen and Rama. They made it. So we're going to revert flight to launch. So there's what happens if you try to take off single engine full blast. So let us... Here's what we're going to do now. We're going to try to take off at, like... That's probably about 10% power. So that way we're gonna see if we can take off single engine. So I'm teasing it here. Keep it down, keep it straight down the runway, and we're going to slowly pick up speed because too much thrust will just whip us around. So you got to do low thrust. We're already at 15 meters per second, so we can rotate and pull up probably about 50 meters per second. So we're just basically along for the ride until then. And as we get faster, these aerodynamic surfaces are going to start working better. Alright, there's 35 meters per second. I'm going to give it just a bit more throttle. I think we can handle it, especially as we're getting faster. So as soon as we pull up, hopefully this will be easier. Now we're going to bank. Oh, can we do it? Maximum effort? Full beans? Nope, not going to happen. So we might be able to take off with one engine, but I don't have the attention span to try to gain different ways, and it's probably pretty boring to watch. So we're going to hit both engines full power. We're going to take off like normal people, and then we'll do some single engine operations at altitude. So one of the things you can do in real airplanes when you go single engine operation is not only, because you'd think, okay, so the thrust, so let's look at the airplane here. So the thrust, let's say if the left engine's off and the right engine's on full blast, you'd think, oh, well, the vector's here and it's going to try to flip it around. Just use the rudder and that's going to completely take care of it, right? Well, actually, if you bank, in real airplanes it's about 5 degrees, and this thing you'll see, it's pretty hefty. If you bank in a real airplane about 5 degrees, that's going to help carry your lift vector towards that dead engine. And that's going to help you out to maintain control too, because if you get slow in a real airplane, it will snap roll. YouTube, I think Queen Air VMC, and that should it takes off, one engine quits, they don't catch it in time, and it just snap rolls. Now, thankfully, jetliners have so much thrust, and they have it. Excuse me. They have so much thrust. They have so much lift. So when they do 5 degrees, that's a lot of lift actually being vectored. You know, or a lot of force being vectored off of the straight up lift let's see, let's get my terminology right. It is lift because it's being created by the wings, but the lift, you know, is so much that when you turn it a little bit this way, the force towards the, again, assuming the right engine is live, the force towards that right engine is going to be so much that it's going to help a lot. Also, the rudder's pretty big on jetliners, and they're, you know, they're just so heavy and so powerful that, especially once they get up to a certain speed, they really shouldn't have a problem with VMC. You can actually lose an engine on the ground. You know, if you're flying Alaska Airlines, Delta Airlines, whatever, you're on a 737 or whatever, and you're on the ground, the pilot hasn't even pulled up yet, and all of a sudden the left engine bursts into flames. The pilot is going to be able to, depending on the speed, if he's above a certain speed we call V1, he has total capability of taking off, coming back around, and we're gonna do a course reversal here real quick. Total capability of taking off, coming back around, and landing, no problem. And if he's below that speed, V1, it's safer for him to just stop. I mean, if your engine quit, that's an emergency. You're not going to keep flying. I mean, you know, if the engine quits, you're not going to go to your destination. You're going to put it on the ground pretty soon. So he just, you know, expedites that process and doesn't even take off. If he's below V1, which is calculated on a bunch of different things, weather, runway distance, and everything, because if you're above V1, it's safer to keep going with one engine. So now that we're up at 10,000 feet. Let's shut this engine down, and we're at 200 and, well, about 200 meters per second, 220. So now I've gone full blast, and you can see the rudders and that thing, okay. And as the engine increases in speed, so the engine increases in speed, we're not necessarily. As the engine increases in thrust is probably a better word, I have to put in, look at how much bank, and look at my velocity vector, it's way over there. So I'm still headed almost towards the space center. And I'm going to actually lift up a little bit, nose up, and nose over here. I'm going to put yaw, look, yeah, okay, there you go. So yaw is all the way to the right. Roll is, I mean, the little bar over here is neutral, except for when SAS does something. But, you know, because we've rolled over, what is that, probably 60 degrees? So that's a lot of roll to keep this engine under check. Now here's the thing, too, we are losing our velocity. So what I'm actually going to do now is tip it all the way over and get this thing back towards the horizon. Oh, we're falling too. But kind of the point is I'm trying to pick up some speed to get more aerodynamic forces, and it's not working. So I'm going to start this engine, and we're going to shut them both down. And this engine's still going to produce a lot of thrust. So look at our velocity vector versus attitude, and as that engine slowly dies, it's going to start swinging back around. And we're going to get into a little bit thicker atmosphere, so play around with that. And you know what? Let's try a single engine landing. We're going to shut down this engine, and we're going to put some thrust on this engine, not enough to where we've got a crab and all that, and we're using so much aerodynamic force and cross control that we're losing all this speed. So we're just going to keep it about half throttle, because that's going to put some energy into the system, and hopefully we'll pick up some speed that will help us land with single engine. Again, this is all video game air. When I'm talking about, I'm trying to not contradict myself. So when flying airliners is a little bit different, but for this game specifically, what I'm going to do is try to carry some extra speed, so that way that's going to help us with our aerodynamic control with just this single engine. I guess airliners is probably the same. You want to probably carry a little extra speed, but they're also, at this point, they would be flight almost idle. Because if you only got your engine at, you know, down here, I've got it at, what is that, 10% maybe? You really don't need a whole lot of cross control, because it's just giving you a little bit of thrust. Alright, so here we come. And normally I'm at this, I try to be at like 100 meters per second by this time, if that. So we are pretty fast, and at this point we're just gliding in, so it doesn't matter what our engines are doing, because one's failed, one's off. Either way, we're not getting thrust. And not off necessarily, just on idle, which gives you 0 kilonewtons of thrust. We're going to turn that one on, because I like to do, like I said in the last video, I like to do this low approach. Oh man, we are booking it. Look at us go. We're still up around still up over 100. We're halfway down the runway. Good lord. Oh, I forgot I got a parachute. One-time use only, but it'll work for now. Let's get this pig on the ground. I like to do this low pass below the power curve that I talked about last time, and go around. So let's see if we can get, just trying to select the parachute node or module or whatever it is, as we are continuing to decrease in airspeed. And we'll go full power. Oh, we're gonna hit the ground. Oh. Oh, single engine. Stop. Yep, my hand slipped off the keyboard. I hit totally the wrong buttons and tipped us over right into the ground. Okay. Now, so far, let's see, how long have we been recording? Okay, 10 minutes. I feel like there was something else I was going to do that was way cooler. That involves single engine, but I just feel like when I was playing around with this and not recording, it was more fun. Well, let's just take off again. Full power, both engines. Let's get this pig off the ground. And gear up. There we go, right at rotation speed. So I'm going to back this off a little bit because that's pretty loud in my ear there. And we're climbing. Climb's pretty good. Alright, so now okay, here's what we can do. Let's pretend we are in an airliner or something. You wouldn't probably be climbing this high in an airliner, so we've got a lot of stress on the engines. Like, if it wasn't for the engines, we would definitely be, falling right now, because you just can't maintain this without the engines. So this simulates like a high-performance climb in an actual airplane. And we lose an engine. Let's go over recovery procedure. So engine shutdown. Oh no, engine's down. Throttle to idle. I didn't even get it soon enough. The other engine, you want to go throttle idle. And see, we VMC'd already. Now, a real airplane, you'd be falling pretty good. Oh, we're at 22 meters per second. So the only way to save this thing. Oh, also in real airplanes, when you do stall and spin and stuff, basically what you want to do is get going straight down, because then that's going to restore, not straight down, nose down. Yeah. So when I'm talking about stuff, sometimes I'll do, a slip of the tongue. You don't want to go straight down in a plane. You want to neutralize this attitude difference in velocity vector, because that's going to get airflow. Oh, by the way, I recovered. Look at that. No engines. I've got another idea. We're going to go this way for a while. What was I saying? You want to neutralize this velocity vector and attitude in a real airplane as well, because that's going to help airflow stick to the wing. If you've got airflow, we call it angle of attack. So if the airflow... Alright, let's put the plane at 0. So now if the airflow was coming from this direction, which means the plane would be traveling... Oh, no, not necessarily. Let's see, what am I trying to say here? If the airflow was coming from this direction, it would be a pretty good angle of attack. So a better way to demonstrate it probably is, if airflow is coming this direction, exactly, and the airplane is like this, so we'd be in level flight, then we'd have, what is this, a 15-degree angle of attack. However, because we are going straight up with the airflow, you see there, we still have pretty much a 0 angle of attack. Alright, now I told you all that to tell you this. If you're spinning or stalling in an airplane, you want to get the angle of attack to 0, so airflow is restored directly over all those flight surfaces. And that's going to give you rudder authority and elevator authority and aileron authority, so you can control the airplane again. And that's really, if you're out of control, it doesn't matter what your engines are doing, right? You're going to crash. You got to get control of the airplane, and that means getting the nose in the direction of airflow. However, you have to do that. There's different techniques to do that. So that was a really long-winded explanation on, why I should have pitched down after takeoff when I cut that engine. So here we go. I've got an idea. We're going to time warp this. Basically, I want to see, we call it hanging on the engines, where the engines are basically just completely pushing you only up. If like you're well below your good climb speed. Like, this is probably an okay climb speed with a lot of engine, but it's that power curve that I talked about before. You're basically at the bottom of it. You're just hanging on them, and you can do that with these engines because it's very powerful for this relatively light aircraft. So we gotta, and I'm maneuvering at time warp, and I said I don't like to do that, so I'm gonna bring it off, and I'm just gonna glide towards these mountains and basically play chicken. I'm gonna see how far I can outclimb them, and we've got a hill here, and look at our velocity vector. It's dropping like mad, so we are basically pretty much stalled probably. So we're gonna give it full beans, maximum beanage, and these are picking up some speed. Now we're not stalled anymore. Look at us go. All right, see now. At 40 meters a second or so, let's explore this angle of attack concept a little better, and I'll just keep the nose up. That way we'll slow down. So you see here, as we're dropping through 60 meters per second, that velocity vector is starting to drop down, which means our angle of attack is the difference between the velocity vector and our attitude indicator. Now, our attitude indicator is about 15 degrees right now, and the velocity vector is at level, which means we've got about a 15-degree angle of attack, which is apparently where this thing stalls, because then it just drops way away, and you start losing all controls. So we're going to pick up some speed again now that we've explored that a little more. All right. So basically, I don't know what this would simulate except for maximum climb performance, and it's just more fun with a mountain in the way. Maximum power, and we're at 150 meters a second. We're going to go ahead and chop those throttles. when I found out that Z is full throttle and X cuts the throttles, it made my KSP experience so much better. I'm still way noob at this. I barely know what I'm doing anyway. Alright. Oh, okay. Oh, that... We were falling faster than the hill was there for a second. Alright, so we're slowing down a little bit. Once we get probably over here a little bit more towards this, then we're going to maximum throttle and pitch up and see basically how close we can cut it. Because that's really the fun of this game, is seeing how close you can cut it. Alright, see at 50 meters a second, we're already starting to drop, so we're getting a pretty good angle of attack. So we're going to go full power, and not quite full power, because we're not there yet. We just didn't have enough airspeed to keep flying, so I did full power. Oh, shoot, look at that airspeed. It's dropping like mad. We're going to go full power. It might even be too late. Nope, it's not too late, but we are pitching up. We got to pitch up. Go, 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 go. This, by the way, is probably not what you want to do in real life. Yeah, we have enough room. I would definitely pitch down as much as I could, pick up airspeed, and then keep going. Because as long as you're behind this power curve, it doesn't really matter what the engines are doing. I take that back. It definitely does matter what the engines are doing. But if you're behind that power curve, you are not climbing nearly as good as you could be if you're above the power curve. Power curve, I'll probably have to do a video explaining that too. It's a simple concept once you understand it. Trying to understand is a little different story. Alright, so yep, look at us. We're climbing up, and our speed's actually picking up too. So I didn't even cut that close. When I imagine cutting close, it'd be like barely clearing this, you know, getting up here like 30 meters a second, just chugging over, and then right at the last second having to tip it down without stalling. And there we go. And see, once you tip it down, start picking up some airspeed, your velocity vector and attitude indicator are very similar. And this thing really gets going and good about 100 meters a second, where it's very, very controllable. And you've got a lot of extra energy. So let's head back to the space station. And we'll do our standard course reversal here. And see, our airspeed is dropping quite a bit. So we're losing a little bit of control. Not too bad. We're not stalled yet. And we'll flip it back around. Alright, now, single engine operations, as this video is supposed to be about, let's climb up to 5,000 meters and pick up some speed. We're at 130 now, we've got full power, both engines, so I'm doing all I can to make this happen. So let's time warp it a little bit. No need to sit here through the whole thing. Okay, there's 5,000, so let's tip it back down, pick up a little more airspeed. At 5,000, our maximum speed is probably around 600 meters a second. We don't need to go that high necessarily. But I'm going to shut one engine down, and so immediately I'm going to shut the other engine down, kind of get reestablished here, add as much power as I can to basically keep energy in the system, keep her going in a straight line. We're losing airspeed quite a bit, so I want to get to a point where I might even be able to gain some airspeed on single engine. And let's see, she's at 130 kilonewtons. It's probably about the maximum amount of thrust we're going to get at this altitude. Yep, 132 seems to have stabilized, and we are dropping our airspeed right now. So let's see what it takes to what airspeed essentially is it going to even out with thrust, because it will keep dropping until it's sustainable by the thrust, and it looks like it'll probably drop to maybe 190 or so, because it's still dropping pretty quick. Oh, maybe even less than 190. Alright, so I've got maximum right rudder in. Oh, it's starting to... Oh, maybe it's not slowing down. Jesus. We're losing a lot of speed. So I've got all the yaw in to the right, and we're still losing speed. And I think part of the reason we're losing speed is because of this speed brake. Because of the way the flight controls are configured. And every time you use a flight control on this thing, because they're so big, it slows you down quite a bit, because there's a lot... Look at all these things that move back here. So every time you move, you lose a lot of speed. So I think if there was a more efficient way to design this, it'd probably stop at like 170 maybe, but we're going to keep... It's still going down. It'd probably stop around 150 or so. But without that engine... Shoot, you know what I just realized in this thing? It might be more efficient for you to glide on one engine, or on 0 engines, than to try to fight a single engine. If I remember right, it went differently in, like, when I was just playing around without recording, but maybe that's... I mean, it seems like it could be a thing. I like looking and see this one was shut down. The right one is all red and whatnot. That's kind of cool. Alright, so yeah, we're just going to keep gliding down then. There's no reason to sit through all this, though, so we're going to time warp it times 4. And just keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. And we've got both engines running, so we should be just under normal operations at this point. And we'll keep going down. There we go. Well, we'll try to fix this. There we go. Now we're cooking. See, now every time I move it, watch the speed. Every time I put a control input, it drops. The speed starts dropping quite a bit. Sometimes it'll pick up right away because my nose is down. Which, I mean, when your nose is down, typically you're picking up speed. Alright, we're going to deploy our speed brakes here. So we're at 90 meters a second, no parachute. We need to pitch up. Oh no. Got distracted with the speed brakes. We were headed down pretty hard. We can still land this though. I say as I crash. Oh no, look at that, we landed. Success! Alright, well I think that'll be the... What are you doing up here? Why are you still retracted? Or why are you still up? Maybe it's probably just broken. Well, yeah, this video ended up being a lot more explanation on like VMC and stuff, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something. Like I said in the last video, I'm hoping to do a whole series on KSP, probably a little bit less explanation and more entertainment. Yeah, there was that. Single engine operations of a SR-71. Thanks for watching. So it was at this point that I realized I didn't really have a good thumbnail shot, so I wanted to go up again and then get rid of the little curbins down there on the bottom right and the attitude indicator so I get a good shot of it, so when I was doing the video editing I could take a screenshot of it and get a good thumbnail. But it looked really cool what it does, so I just left it in. So yeah, enjoy.